Hugh Freeze will be calling the offense for Auburn in 2024. And I think based on what happened in the last couple of days with Philip Montgomery being fired, you could probably see this coming a little bit. But it was very obvious that there was a problem with the Auburn offense. Like, they scored 24 points a game. Some of that you pin on personnel, like, hey, Peyton Thorne and what he wasn't able to do pushing the ball downfield last year. There's very obviously a governor there. But at the end of the day, like, the results are the results, and there needs to be a change. And so for me, with Hugh Freeze, I'm sitting here saying, all right, good for him seeing there's a problem, and with his familiarity with the situation at Auburn, with him being as dialed in as possible to his football program, I think that he's saying, okay, I don't see this getting a ton better. And if it's not going to get better, it's got to be on me. Okay, like, that's the other thing. With the day and age of where we are in college football, with the transfer portal, the way coaches are flipping rosters, I think that's led to a lack of patience across the board with different administrations, with head coaches. And that's not me sitting here and saying that Hugh Freeze is somehow on the hot seat. I actually have a ton of belief in what he's doing at Auburn. I think they're going to be in good shape for a long time as long as he's the head coach there. I think he's got a great trajectory for that program, the way they're recruiting, what he's done in terms of, how good he is schematically, the way they pushed Alabama, the way they pushed Georgia. I see some positivity there. The unfortunate reality here is the runway for head coaches in college football is not nearly as long as it used to be. So Hugh Freeze is saying, okay, we had 1 year not go the way that it should have gone, in his opinion. We're going to change it. We're not going to wait and hope it gets better next year and see where we stand this time next year and burn 2 years. No, I see a problem. I think I'm the solution if I'm Hugh Freeze based on what he's done in his track record being a play caller in the SEC. We're making a pivot. And here's the other thing. Like, I think this is kind of personal for Hugh Freeze. And I don't mean personal by the nature of his relationship with his staff. I mean, it's personal for Hugh Freeze. It is upon him for Auburn to be successful offensively. Like, the way that I look at this, if I'm a steakhouse and I take pride in serving steak, but everyone that comes to my restaurant tells me the steak is pretty mid, I take that personally. Why? Because I do steak. That's my thing. That's always kind of been my bag. That's the same thing for Auburn right now with Hugh Freeze. He's an offensive guy. He takes pride in his offense being dynamic, being successful, being able to out-scheme his opponent. That's what he's done. That's what you got when you hired him over to Auburn. That was one of the things that we saw them be successful and why they pushed Alabama and why they pushed Georgia was what the offensive game plan they had dialed up. So with that being said, he's like, all right, if we're not going to succeed here, it's going to be because I wasn't good enough calling plays for us. And so I kind of love that if I'm Hugh Freeze, because, again, you saw the flashes last year. Yes, there's that ultimate black eye of the New Mexico State game for Auburn. I hear that. But with the way they've recruited, if you were to add an improved game plan, and we'll see what happens with their quarterback situation, if they go after someone in the portal or if they're going to just ride with Peyton Thorne and if they just say, okay, we'll be a run-heavy team. I don't know what that looks like. But I think you saw some things that encouraged you if you're an Auburn fan. Because, again, it was year one. It was year one, and let's be real, you should have beat Alabama. New Mexico State game hurts, but really should have beat Alabama. Auburn fans, they already know that. They don't want me even telling them that. They're like, hey, we tried to forget that and flush that and move on the next year. I understand. But I just think if that's year one, and that's what we're building off of, and Hugh Freeze didn't feel like he had the right personnel calling plays for him last year, how much better can they be going forward? So I love that he's taking action right now. I love that it's personal for him. I love that this is something that matters to him. And I think when it comes to Auburn, too, Hugh Freeze is their edge in the SEC. And what I mean by that is in football, and especially in this conference, you need to have your fastball to win the conference or to compete at a high level. Like Georgia in 2021, it was their defense. Historic, generational, whatever kind of label you want to throw on it, they were really good defensively. That was their edge. Last year for Alabama, they won the conference by leaning into who they were with Jalen Milroe offensively. Right? They found themselves being able to be a little bit more of a run-heavy team. Tommy Rees kind of dialed it up, and they got to be that team. That was their edge. Jalen Milroe running the football, that was their edge. I think for Auburn, their edge is the skins on the wall that Hugh Freeze has in the SEC. His success at Ole Miss. His success against these different teams this past season, quite honestly. Like, he is the edge, and so I think him now taking over full-time calling plays is them leaning into their edge. Now, this is twofold. You can have the right play drawn up, you can have the right scheme drawn up, but if you don't have the personnel to execute it, then it's about the Jimmies and the Joes at the end of the day, And so I wonder if Peyton Thorne's going to be that guy. I think I still need to see it, quite honestly. But overall, if I'm an Auburn fan, I'm encouraged. You got a coach who's not messing around. You got a coach who's saying, listen, we are going to win now. This is not a rebuild. This is not a let's see where we are in 2 years. This is a we got to win now. And 12-team playoff opens the door up a little bit more so for multiple SEC teams to get in there, and we'll see. We'll see about Auburn, but I'm excited to see what they look like under Hugh Freeze, the Hugh Freeze offense. I think that'll be a lot of good stuff going on there. Hey, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also, be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.